Olá a todas e todos. Começa aqui mais um BDF Entrevista Internacional. E o convidado dessa vez é Jamal Juma, ativista palestino. Essa entrevista está sendo gravada no dia 12 de junho e vai ser conduzida em inglês. Hi Jamal.
Hi, thank you for receiving me here. It's my pleasure to be in Brazil and my pleasure also to meet you here.
Thank you. I thank you for taking your time to talking to us.
Thank you very much. No problem.
Ele nasceu em Jerusalém, estudou na Universidade de Birzeit, na vizinha Cisjordânia, e viu de perto os principais acontecimentos do conflito árabe-palestino das últimas décadas. Desde a primeira intifada, nos anos 80, a quase paz via Acordo de Oslo, nos anos 90, a segunda intifada, os ataques do 11 de setembro nos Estados Unidos, a disputa entre os grupos palestinos do Hamas e do Fatah e a série de massacres cometidos por Israel contra Gaza, que culminou no atual genocídio. Jamal luta pela liberdade do seu povo. Isso inclui batalhas específicas, como a campanha contra o muro erguido por Israel na Cisjordânia, que separa vilas palestinas, e o movimento global BDS, boicote, desinvestimento e sanção, contra o Estado de Israel.
Jamal, we're going to start talking about the genocide, the current genocide. I'd like to ask you, where were you on October the 7th? And what were your thoughts about the Hamas movement operation on that day?
And that day I was in Ramallah, where I'm living, in fact. I'm living in Ramallah in Jerusalem. I'm Jerusalemite, in fact. But my work in Ramallah, so I was in Ramallah that day. And honestly, I knows about this from the news. And it's really something shocking. In a way, it's not expected at all that something like this happened. I know very well the political context. I know how tense the situation in Palestine. Because if you want me to describe a little bit how things is going on, we in the West Bank, we were under heavy attack since 2 years at least. This is heavily attacked. People killed every day. Settlers attacking on the people almost every day. There's gangs of settlers clearly started the ethnic cleansing process against the Palestinians, especially the Bedouins. And Gaza situation was really, really terrible since 17 years. And it's not just from October. 17 years, this Gaza Strip living in a hell. You can imagine 360 square kilometers, 2.3 million people is living there, totally blocked. Israelis counting every single thing that's going into Gaza, especially food. They are counting the calories. The Israelis were counting the calories, so they were allowing to Gaza things to go just to keep the people survive.
Starvation is a policy.
It's a policy, also from the beginning. And Gaza was having, since 2008, a deadly massacres as well. There were airstrikes, bombings heavily, thousands of people killed, thousands of houses destroyed. It lasts for 1 month or more than 1 month. So devastate the people's life for another 2-3 years. Then another attack on Gaza on 2012, the same. So it continued 5 attacks until 2003. Last one was in 2011 to 2021. So this is how the situation in Gaza was. It's this blocked area, it has been bombed systematically with fighter jets, will destroy thousands of houses, killing thousands of people. And even the reports from the United Nations and the international organization, they were saying that Gaza is not going to be livable because the water is contamination. No electricity is going well in Gaza. Almost people is starving. No hope there. So everybody, in a way or another, were expecting the explosion. So this comes along with also Israel totally denying the Palestinian rights, and they were dumping it even. The latest speech for Netanyahu in the United Nations, just 2 months maybe, or 3 months before the 2023, before October, and he was showing a map of Israel, that there's no Palestine, and it's something like even...
The Great Israel.
Yeah, Greater Israel is beyond even the border of historical Palestine. At the same time, the Americans working aggressively to do normalization with the Arab world. Particularly, they were pushing for Saudi Arabia, to normalize with Israel. So this will be the end of the Palestinian cause. This comes along also with this comes also along with like big, huge projects in the Middle East, where the Americans is leading. They want to do like a kind of Arab NATO, led by Israel, to integrate Israel in the area. And this is to be against the Chinese and the Russians and the Iranians, like interest that they became for the Americans, the monsters. So they were talking about like, they started even like planning, and they were already put on implementation, the alternative Silk Road that will start from Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Jordan to Haifa. There is another big project that called Ben Gurion Channel. They want to also open an alternative channel to Suez Channel from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean. And this is, by the way, the right direction to go is the middle of Gaza. But seriously talking, and we know that, and they were declaring it, that these projects and all these arrangements is not going to work if there is still Palestinian resistance.
They have to get rid of the Palestinians.
Exactly. Hamas knows, and all we as a Palestinian knows that, and it's like little gossips, after October, after the Jewish feasts, is going to be a massive attack on Gaza. So in fact, what did Hamas did, and the Palestinian resistance, not just Hamas there in Gaza, they break the walls of the prison, and they mix the whole papers of all these plans that targeting the Palestinians.
So it was a preemptive attack from the Palestinians
exactly.
in Israel.
Exactly.
But when you saw this attack, did you think that the Israeli reaction would be so horrific, so horrendous?
Not to this extent, to be honest. Because like, as people who are under occupation, and also like many others in the history, or currently even people under occupation, they have the right to resist. They have the right to break the siege. They have the right to break their prisons. It is assured by the international law, to fight and to resist in all means, including the armed resistance, as you are under occupation and against as your occupier. So when they did, in fact, like break the walls they went mainly, the Hamas militant went to the Israeli base, military base, which is like responsible over Gaza attacks, and to the Erez checkpoint, which is also a military base, and the ones controlling all the sophisticated whatever, like military things that, and crossing into Gaza. When they break the walls, the problem that happened is the people of Gaza flee inside. And that's make the mess. And the people of Gaza, all of them has revenge. First of all, these people is like refugees. They have been kicked out from their homeland, and particularly from those areas that they went to in 48. So many of them, if not all, they lost relatives or sons of their families from the attacks that Israel already doing like all the time, if once in a while. So, and people is like in a prison. The door of the prison opens, so the people will go out. So that's what happened. But the reaction of the Israeli, this is like when we think deeply on why the Israeli reaction is like this. The Israelis never ever expect such an attack from the Palestinians. And for them, for the Americans as well, and for all those who's behind Israel.
It was the biggest ever.
The biggest ever. So this is not acceptable, because it's shaking the whole system, the whole occupation.
Why is Israel destroying so many buildings, killing so many children, killing so many women? What do you think is Israel go with this?
It is ethnic cleansing. It is getting rid of the Palestinian people. And believe me, after they finish from Gaza, they already started in the West Bank, but not in the massive scale. Until now, they already ethnically cleansed 26 Palestinian communities. This terrorist settlers groups in the West Bank. I will talk about Gaza, about the West Bank in a bit. But all the bomb that I'm describing, destroying every symptom of life, everything that you need as a human being,
To make life unlivable.
Unlivable. So you see Gaza, there is no houses anymore. It's all just like mountains.
Rubble,
or
debris.
Of rubble. No schools left, no universities left, no clinics, nothing at all. So you need still 2-3 decades at least to bring life back to Gaza. And they were chasing the people towards the Egyptian borders, aiming that these borders will be open or the people will flee through the borders.
It's not something that the Egypt government wants.
Not the Egypt wants and not the people wants. Why? Because we had an experience of the expulsion and ethnic cleansing in 48, where they had been ethnically cleansed 85% of our people in the areas 94, which is called Israel today. So we know how bad the life of the Palestinians in the refugee camps in Lebanon, in Syria, in Jordan. We know how much the Palestinians suffering in the diaspora everywhere in the world. 60% of our people are refugees around the world. This is the longest refuge to a people that happened since 20th century up to now. Over 75 years till people, they are living in refugee camps. Refugee camps, by the way, is not just in Jordan and Syria and Lebanon. It's in Palestine, in West Bank. In West Bank, we have 14 big refugee camps. These people came originally, flee, and has been expelled from the cities and the villages that has been destroyed and leveled to the ground inside 530 cities and villages that has been eliminated, leveled to the ground in 1948. So this is the Palestinian cause. In fact, what Israel proved what we are saying and explaining to the world. We are facing a settler colonial power. Israel don't want to see Palestinian people there. They want this project, the Zionist colonial project, aiming at finishing the Palestinian existence from historical Palestine. And that's what they are going through. That's when they're denying now. Someone like Netanyahu is denying the existence of the Palestinians. Goes back to Golda Meir in the early 70s and 60s, where when the war people asked about the Palestinians, he said, anybody tell me who's the Palestinians, where are they living?
It's a tactic of dehumanization of
Dehumanization, yeah. We are not existed, we are invisible. So how comes invisible people, dehumanized, will do such a thing like in 7th of October? This is the thing that shocked the Israelis. So, and did use it to continue their project. And unfortunately, I would say that this war has been veiled too many things. Too many masks has been dropped. United States and this what's so-called the white developed
the West
in general, they were telling us that they are the one who's democracy, the one who's creating the human rights. And they launch war on the other countries like Iraq and Afghanistan because they want to bring democracy to those countries that they kill millions of people there. We know they are leading the genocide. They are the one who's enabling it. We are killed and genocided by the American weapons, the British, the French.
But in your opinion, do you think the Israeli plan, backfired, is not working good for the Israelis?
You know, what's good about what happened, or the hope that come out from what happened, it's really shaking the world what's happening here. You are now for the first time in history, you watch on TVs
every day
a televised genocide. You see people have been shattered into pieces in big numbers in front of your eyes. So I think this shake the conscience of the humanity and the people. And we saw how Palestine now today became on the top list agendas of the whole world.
Like I've never seen before.
Never ever seen before. I never ever expected in the United States this massive solidarity with Palestine. Universities going
all over the world.
All over the world. But United States for us was a hopeless case, in a way that we never expect that we'll have. And it's became like people in the streets in masses in Europe. So, and this is proof something. Our enemy as a people everywhere, and if you go back to the history everywhere, Latin America, in the United States itself, I'm talking about the Native Americans, the indigenous that has been totally genocided. Elsewhere, like in the south mainly, our enemy until the same is the same, this imperialism. These monsters that they are hiding behind the humanitarian, human rights and the human laws and democracy, they are the one who is doing this atrocity to the people. So for them, we are not counting. We are like a people that has to be gunned because we are sitting on a land that they can use and they can bring money out of. So it is now who's since 9 months provide Israel with the whole immunity and back up Israel in the Security Council, and they are even like they didn't allow any ceasefire. It's the United States administration.
United States, yeah, we know that. Jamal, let's take a little break right now. We're going back. A gente vai fazer uma pequena pausa e a gente já volta com Jamal Juma. Voltamos aqui com o BDF Entrevista. Hoje o convidado é Jamal Juma, ativista palestino. Jamal, have you ever been to the Gaza Strip, inside the Gaza Strip? You're from the West Bank, right?
Yeah. I'm from Jerusalem. I have been able to go to Gaza by my car even until Oslo.
Until Oslo?
Until 1991, exactly. Then I was able to go by permission. I went twice even until 99. Then since 1999, I never been there in Gaza. So this is, you raised something very important. It is about fragmenting the Palestinian people. You can imagine, at least there's a generations of 30 years now from between West Bank, Gaza, Jerusalem, and also 48, never been together, never seen each other, never visiting each other. So this is part of the colonial control, is like how to divide the people and how to divide them for several decades even to create different entities.
What are the main differences between, I know the West Bank is full of hills, mountains, is green, and the West Bank is more like a desert, the Gaza Strip is more like a desert. But regarding the people, what are the main differences that this isolation process brought to the Palestinian people after all these years?
I didn't see any difference between our people in West Bank, Jerusalem, and Gaza. We are the same. We are still like holding the same principles. We are talking about the same history. We are talking the same language. And we are in communication. We are our parties and movements like in Gaza and West Bank, like we communicate. We can't meet like physically, but still we can communicate. So, and we live under the same colonialists, under the same occupation. So, the difference is like Gaza were much more oppressed, much more massacred, in a worse situation than it is in the West Bank. It's a blockade. It's an area, as you said, it's a desert. It's a seashore, it's a sand area.
But you cannot enjoy the sea, can you? People in Gaza cannot enjoy the sea like everyone else in the world would.
And we can't in the West Bank enjoy the sea of that.
You cannot as well.
Yeah.
What happened if
But by the way, like Gaza before Oslo, and in the 70s and 80s, they were exporting citrus and vegetables and fruits to Jordan and to the Arab world, to the Gulf, with big quantities. So
it's possible.
It's possible, but Israel desertificated. They destroy, unlike also more than 1 kilometers all along the side Gaza borders, they desertificated. They did destroy all the trees there, all the citrus fields, all the grapes, all the palm trees. And claiming that this is where the Palestinian fighters will hide behind the trees. So they desertificated totally. And also the main aim is not just this, is they want to kill any resources that the Palestinian can depend on there. So when they want to starve them, they starve them.
What are the fondest memories, talking about your youth, your childhood, what are the fondest, the dearest memories you have from your Palestinian childhood?
You know, I grew up in a peasant family, originally Bedouins.
You were born in 1962, right?
62 in Jerusalem, in a place like close to Jerusalem, about 87 kilometers towards the wilderness, toward the Dead Sea and Jericho. And all my life was with sheep, with goats, with this kind of life, But I have been witnessed the occupation. This is every Palestinian, no matter what kind of living, what kind of life lives in Palestine, the occupation is there for you. So my first experience with this that opened my eyes is when I'm 15 years old, going from my small village to Jerusalem, and there is a checkpoint that is in 70s. So when the soldiers get into the bus and asking about IDs, by the way, there in Palestine, the most important thing in your life is your ID. So you have to prove yourself who are you every single minute.
Otherwise you are in trouble.
You can't forget anything except your ID. So they were checking the IDs. So asking me, the soldier, he get into the bus, asking me about my ID. I told him I'm young. I don't have an ID. Then he told, you are cheating on me. Stand up. Stand up. I am tall. He said, no, you are cheating on me. Suddenly slapped me in the face like crazy. So as a child that time, and the kind of life that I raised, not acceptable, this kind of humiliation, slap me for what? For nothing. Then I get it back to him, I punch him. So the result that I was beaten for a whole day, and I still remember their cheeks, their boots in my cheeks until today.
How old were you?
15 years old. I was beating until 4 o'clock from the morning, until some of my relatives went back home from the bus and they saw me lay down on the ground and they come and take me. This is how you start. And if you look at all the Palestinians, at least since 67 until now, over 1 million Palestinians have been in jail. Not a single family even you find in Palestine that they didn't have or used to have, or once one of the family was in jail. When you talk about destroying houses, in Jerusalem alone, over 15,000 houses since 67 has been destroyed. Same in the West Bank. Never a family that you didn't watch your father has been beaten by the soldiers in front of your eyes while you are a child. So the dehumanization and the level of the oppression, you are living it since you're born. And in the latest decades after also, it became much more brutal. You see what's happening to the Palestinian prisoners now, how they get out from the prisons. They are starving the prisoners. It's usually for 6 months, I have friends who were in jail. Getting out, you can't recognize them. They used to be 90 kilos, they get out 60 kilos. They've grown up 40 years in the jail. So here it is, this regime, this people, or this government, or whatever, they didn't see us as a human being. They see that they have the right to kill us. Settlers, for example, in the Palestinian settlers, which are supposed to be civilians, which is they are not, any settler can kill any Palestinian and go home, nobody question him. Palestinian kid throws stone, he will get in jail 2 years at least. So,
and the Israelis, they are able to persecute teenagers and judge them as adults, right?
Not even teenagers, kids. We have 10 years and 11 years and 13 years old getting into jail, be arrested. They go to school and they arrest them. In Silwan, this is a neighborhood next to Jerusalem, in 2008, it was recorded that 1,000 child has been arrested. Why do they arrest them? They arrest them to break their future commitment, to terrify them from now. Mm-hmm. Don't think to go and
to establish a trauma.
It's trauma. So I think it's the only maybe country in the world that's systematically and continuously arresting children.
In Brazil, some people have difficulties to understand the causes and the realities of the conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis, the oppression. And it's normal in this country. You see people saying things in a very simplistic way, like, why they don't just chill and be friends, get on with each other? I would like to ask you to explain why is it impossible for a Palestinian young person to become friends with an Israeli young person over there?
I don't know how you can be friends with somebody that he want to kill you and he want to take your house, to expel you from your homeland. I don't know how you can be friends with someone who is looking at you as a non-human being and they treat you like not nice. I don't want to say bad words. How can you become a friend with them? The Israelis want the relation with the Palestinians to be like slaves.
Slaves. In the 21st century.
In the 21st century. They want us to clean their shit and garbage from the streets and work in their factories and clean their homes. And this is when you are talking about this, I'm not just talking about the people, the Palestinians in the West Bank. If you look at the Palestinians that have Israeli citizenships, that they are living inside Israel, how they are discriminated.
The second class people, right?
Or third class. Israeli society, by the way, it's not the racism is not just against the Palestinians. There's levels of racism.
Right.
You have the Europeans like Ashkenazi, white Jews. This is
the Ethiopians as well.
There you have the Russian, you have the Ethiopians, you have the Arab Jews that came from the Arab countries. So there's levels of racism. So the Palestinians have been located at the bottom of these layers, So that's why it's breaking now within the Israeli society. That's why they are demonstrating against each other, because this level of hatred and racism and racial discrimination inside the society is deeply rooted. The first law in Israel when they occupied Palestine in '48 that they issue is a very racist law that provide and assure the right of any Jew living anywhere in the world, it could be in a Brazil that never heard about Palestine, that he have the right to come there and to live, and prohibited the Palestinians that 2 weeks ago they have been kicked out and massacred from them to come back. This is the right of return law that they have. And this is what they start from the first moment of their establishment. And all the Palestinian land and villages, which is 96% of the whole Palestine, they have been taken over and put it in a fund called Jewish National Fund that was controlling this and start distributing it to the new immigrants. This is how they started. So do you want to be friends with somebody who's like slaving you?
It's impossible. Jamal, let me ask you about the wall. You are campaigning against the wall that is being built by Israel in the West Bank. Why is this wall so bad?
When you look at the wall and the map of the wall and what it did in the West Bank today, and this, just to explain it well, let's talk about Oslo a little bit. Oslo started in 1993, supposed to be a transition period from 93 to 95, where the Palestinians should have their own state. This is how it is in 5 years. In order to do that, it established the Palestinian Authority that to be administrative, managing the whole transferring of the land that Israel will transfer to the Palestinians. So at the beginning, they gave us the main cities, which is 17% of the Palestinian areas in the West Bank and Gaza, and the villages. Altogether is 39%. What they did with the wall? They built a wall around the Palestinian villages and cities, creating this crazy apartheid fragmentation system. So you had Jenin, Nablus. We had 800 kilometers of wall fragmenting the Palestinian city, blocking us in our own residential areas, and isolating and confiscating all our resources, the land and water in the West Bank, 62%. That without it you can't live. So in fact, what the wall is, it is one of the biggest steps of colonialism in the West Bank. that I consider it as a step before the expulsion. Or you can put it this way, it is the 21st century version of the ethnic cleansing, which is, as
Ariel
Sharon said in 1989 when he was coming back from South Africa, and I quote, "You can't load people in trucks nowadays and throw them outside the borders like they did in 48, but you create a positive conditions to convince them to leave." And that's it.
So evil.
So this wall is this positive conditions that he's talking about. When you take out the resources of the people,
It's amazing how
block
they use
them,
the words.
block them with the walls, fragment the society, so you never just like have Gaza, Jerusalem, West Bank, 48 and the diaspora. You will have in West Bank North, West Bank Middle, West Bank South, West Bank East, West Bank West.
So even if you are a Palestinian living in West Bank, you cannot communicate with your neighbor, with your friends, with your family.
Nowadays, especially nowadays after the 7th of October, because they use the war on Gaza to cement this colonial apartheid system in the West Bank. So we are not using our main roads anymore properly. There are settlers with their guns there. There's checkpoints everywhere, and you can be shot any minute.
The level of violence in the West Bank increased a lot.
Every day. Yesterday there were 6 people killed in Jenin. The day before there were 4 in Ramallah. And 2-3 days before it was in Jenin another 6 people. 14 people in Tulkarem a week before. From 7th of October until now, over 600 people, Palestinians, have been killed. They are killing people every day. They isolate all the area C, like this all Bedouin communities, you can't reach them anymore. They start eliminating them. 26 communities, as I told you at the beginning. It's already this paramilitary, this is in the Latin America known very well. This fascist terrorist groups of settlers backed by the military. They went and they just like pushed them away. And they are controlling and taking over huge amount of land.
They are unaccountable, right? They don't fear the police, they don't fear anything. The settlers.
The police is backing them up. Ben-Gvir has been giving them 30,000 machine guns this after 7th of October. They are militarized. We are talking about some studies I was reading about this. They have over 60,000 settlers organized and militarized very well and trained, and they are serving the Israeli military. So they are not separated from the government. They are the arm of the government. What they are doing, what the Israeli governments will do to confiscate land in Palestine, they have to go to court and they have to bring the decisions from the military that this is land that they want to confiscate is for military uses. So there is a process. But now they confiscate the Palestinians' land, not to the process anymore. Settlers with their machine guns goes to the communities and expel them away, and they take over the land. Over 300,000 dirhams has been taken by this way in the last few months.
Jamal, let's make another break. We'll come back soon. A gente faz mais um intervalo, a gente volta logo. Voltamos com o BDF Entrevista. O convidado de hoje é o ativista palestino Jamal Juma. Jamal, one of the groups that helped your visit here to Brazil is the Jewish Voices, a collective of Jewish people who oppose the occupation and the Israel government. And they have a question for you as well. And I'll have the pleasure to make this question. I'm going to read as they formulated. As a group of Jews who understand Jewishness as a tradition of equality, justice, togetherness, and critique of violence, we support BDS, boycott, disinvestment, and sanctions as a major tool of social justice unconnected to anti-Semitism or Jew hate. More importantly, we envision a future where this tradition serves as a solid foundation for the world we live in, not merely an abstract concept honoring the idea of our exceptionalism. boycotts and disinvestments are non-violent practices aimed at dismantling apartheid. As an exercise of futurism beyond the essential task of undermining companies and policies complicit in the Palestinian genocide and colonization, is it possible to dream of life in that territory based on coexistence and cohabitation, in your opinion?
You know, my father was telling me, before 48, there is the Jewish Palestinians who's living with us. And on the Shabbat, because they are not allowed to put light on or to use the things, the Palestinians were cooking for them and they put the light on. So historically, we were living together, Muslims, Christians, Jews, like in Palestine, as brothers, as comrades, as neighbors, until Zionism came and destroyed the whole mosaic of relation between us as the Palestinians and the Jews. And I want to say a word here, we are the Palestinians, and I'm talking about Palestinians. Our problem is not with Jews. Our problem with Zionism as a settler colonial ideology, that unfortunately they have been the dress of Judaism. Jewish Voice for Peace and all these Jewish people around the world that stand up against this, they are the moral voice, and they are one of the most important voices for the future in that area. Palestinians today, I'm telling you, they are ready to live together in one state equally as a people like before 48.
So do you think it's possible?
Sure 100% about every Palestinian. Nobody will oppose this. We, at the end, what brings us to each other is a humanity. We are human beings. Regardless you are like atheist or a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew, if we understand our humanity and we are really human and equal in our humanity, we should live together without problem. You shouldn't dominate me and I shouldn't dominate you. We can live equally and we can participate our country peacefully and we can build a future for our generations. But don't slave me, and don't design the relation that you will be master and I'm a slave. I am the indigenous. I am the one who had the right in this land. Not you. You came from Ukraine or from Poland or from New York or from anywhere else claiming that this is your land. No. The one who's participating in this land, me also, the Palestinian Jews that used to be living with me next door. And in spite of this, you who came from there, I don't know how many years ago, because they are coming different times, I'm telling you, the Palestinians are ready to live in peace together, equally. And I am against the two-state solution. It's not a solution.
Why is that?
It doesn't bring justice. It doesn't bring justice at all to the people. I am, as a Palestinian who have been sacrificed even in Oslo, 78% of my historical land to have two states, to have my state in the West Bank in the 22%. And the most beautiful and fertile and rich part of Palestine, by the way, is the one they are controlling. West Bank is a hills and also semi-desert, and Gaza is on a seashore. But even that, we sacrifice this to be able to live next to each other. But what happened in the end? We have been chased into the 22% and built for us an apartheid colonial systems. So here, the problem is in the mentalities. They have to get rid of from their mentality. I'm talking about the Zionists, and this is one of the responsibility of the Jewish people of conscience, that they are standing now, and we are really appreciating this a lot, and we consider them our comrades in struggle and our brothers in struggle.
And talking about
they have to take out this colonial mentality that either you or me here in this part of the world. And I'm telling the Zionists, we are staying, and we prove in Gaza that we are staying, no matter what you did. This is our land, and we are not going to leave. You have to accept this fact. And you have to understand that what you are doing and how you are dealing with us as the Palestinians and the whole region, by the way, is just to bring more disasters for the area and for you first.
Talking about the BDS movement, is it possible to measure how effective it has been in the damage it's been causing to Israeli interests around the world so far? I would like you to talk more about this.
You know, BDS, the first Palestinian call for BDS started in 2005. And it's merely the rooted for that bring it to the quickly is the wall, the apartheid system that they are cementing in the West Bank. So our response to this as a Palestinians, particularly civil society, is to get a call to the whole world to act in solidarity with Palestine, to work together in order to end this atrocity by mainly depending on implementing the human rights. So the BDS has been built based on the human rights, three main rights that we put there, that we want to be achieved, that will solve the problems. In the occupation 67, in the racial discrimination against Palestinians in 48, and the right of return for the Palestinian refugees. And that's what we are calling the people. And this is all assured by international law, United Nations resolutions. So that's what we want. That's what BDS want. In a non-violent way, to have all these people around the world to join us in order to implement the international law and the basic human rights for our people. And this is the solution for this, what they call it a conflict. It's not a conflict. It's the war of genocide, historical genocide going on against the Palestinian people. So this is mainly the basis of BDS. So we get this call in 2005. It have consensus within the Palestinian society. From the left to the right, everybody in Palestine agreed on this. In the diaspora and in Gaza, in the West Bank, in Jerusalem, everywhere. All united behind this call. That's one of the main reasons behind the success of the BDS. And that's where the people started to join us. And here, also referring to your question, the previous question, we are proud that one of our main allies and leaders in this movement are the Jewish Voice for Peace, and this voice, Jewish conscious, human conscious, and this is very, very important. So it's to provide this space to work together.
What about the Israeli government? Netanyahu looks right now as a person who is close to the end of his mandate. He's very weak internally, he's very weak externally. There is a mandate for his prison, or at least there is a huge pressure for this to happen. He didn't achieve any of his goals. If his government ends soon, what do you think will replace it? A more right-wing extremist government? Or do you have any hope that the Israelis will change its path and install a less right-wing, brutal and violent government?
You know, the problem is that the world, because of this fanatic fascist government now ruling in Israel, they were thinking that the other side was like as we called it, the dove of peace, or this progressive left that they want really peace and dying for that. No, the conflict inside Israel is between two things. Between the Zionist labor that attached themselves and that they are connected more to this white liberal issue and want to co-op with the style of Europe politics, Americans politics, and on the other side this right-wing ideologist fascist groups that they are ruling now, including Smotrich, Ben-Gvir, Netanyahu, and all this that don't care about what the United States or Europe will say about them. all what they want is directly go to the main goal,
They
like
want-
this
they
land
want
is for
land.
us, there is our land and it's for us, and the Palestinians should disappear. But those like any Gallant and the other side, they want to do it sophisticatedly, like any. We have to remember like any the most deadly like massacres that happened in Gaza, they happened by the Zionist liberals. The estimations like the Israeli society is 80% of the society is like going to the right. That's how Smotrich and these fascist groups came to the power. What so-called left disappear from Israel. You have like a progressive people.
Why is that?
You have anti-Zionist, anti-colonial people, but they are very, very, very limited.
Why, in your opinion, they are so small?
Yani, I don't know, like they have been, the Israeli, the Zionist machine was able to terrify the Israeli people all the time, create like this kind of paranoia that their future life is totally threatened and they are going to be killed and eliminated and thrown in the sea by this. This is how they were mobilizing the Israeli society toward hatred. They grown them in hatred to the Palestinians and to Arab, to the region, like any. And this is to achieve their goals at the end, mobilizing them to keep united against the Palestinians, against the Arab, because they are backed from main powers like the United States and the Christian Zionists around the world, like which is one of the main powers that's like backing them around. And this NATO, as I said, like any imperialist countries in the world that they have interest in the region to keep this regime like any dominating. They want Israel to be dominating the area and the region, not to get like in a harmony or to be part of the region. And all the time they are explaining themselves that they are part of Europe, part of the West. They are not belonging to the region. That's put a question mark, like if you consider yourself like not part of the region and you are not willing to live in peace in the region, not the idea is to dominate the region, at the end you are risking your future in this region. And they have to read the history very well. The history of the Middle East is not easy. The history of Palestine is not easy. We have been ruled by 14 emperors since the ancient civilization up to now, all of them gone. From the Assyrians, Pharaohs, Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, until the British with all the Islamic emperors, none of them is there. So Israel, if they want to follow the same path and to continue as a colonialist country, they will have the same future. The one will remain there is the people of the land.
But having said that, do you think the Palestinians have allies inside Israel right now, among the Israeli voters or not?
They have individual allies, but there's no movement that you said this party is like allies with the Palestinians. Even the Palestinians inside 48, inside Israel. They have been shut it off from saying any word against the massacres of Gaza. They're taken to jail, they are sentenced for years for a post on the Facebook.
Jamal, let me ask you, what do you Palestinians expect from us, Brazilians? How do we help you? How can we help you?
You know, it's like we the Palestinians look at the people from the world mainly in the middle of at least like we are demanding this from long before, but now we have a genocide, clearly that people are seeing every day. How we can isolate this colonial apartheid regime that practicing genocide, and how we can help the future of the Palestinians, in fact. So the main important thing is to stop the genocide that's going in, is to isolate Israel, is to disinvest, is to pressure to stop all the projects that are going on between Israel and the Brazilian. We know we have a lot of respect for the Brazilian government. Lula is a friend of the Palestinian people, but still in the middle there is like a kind of military contracts. And at least you have to stop all this military and cooperation and projects with Elbit system with the Israeli industry between the Brazil and it has to be stopped. You can't still, in the middle of what you are seeing there, still continue this cooperation and this funding and doing trade of billions of dollars. I think the Brazilian society, education, health needs this money to be invested here in Brazil with the Brazilian people than to be sent to the Israelis. So the contracts with Elbit system has to be stopped. With the Israeli air industry, it has to be to be stopped. Freeze it at least. You can't continue like any operating disagreements while the massacre is still going on. The way how Israel can understand that what they are doing is not acceptable if the world and the people mainly tell them you are not anymore accepted to be part of the international community if you are doing and continue doing this. You have to stop your crimes against the Palestinian people. Palestinians have to have their rights, have to have their self-determination. Palestinian refugees have it's time to come back to their homeland. Enough is enough. What do the world expect more than what's happening now? That the Palestinian people will finish? So that's why our hope as a Palestinian people for our future, beside our standing and resistance, is to support our resistance, to support our rights. And this is going to happen not just by demonstrations. We need by actual things. Isolate Israel. Stop economic relation with Israel. Stop military trade with Israel. These weapons that they are killing the Palestinians with. When you trade with Elbit and with Israeli companies, you are helping them to keep providing weapons that they are killing the Palestinians with.
Thank you, Jamal.
It's my pleasure, thank you.
Esse foi o BDF Entrevista com Jamal Juma, ativista palestino. E além de na TVT, você pode acompanhar a entrevista completa no YouTube, além do nosso site www.brasildefato.com.br. Obrigado.